And we are back live here once again at the Mid-Michigan Paracon, Soaring Eagle Casino in Mount Pleasant, Michigan. And I'll tell you, what an amazing day, folks. It is I mean, it is, the atmosphere is electric here. And right now, I got one of our good friends of the show, Bill Konkolessky, who is the state director for MUFON right here in Michigan. Bill, welcome to the show once again.
Thanks for having me. I agree. It's quite a setup. It's when I walked in, I was stunned at the vendors area.
Oh, I know. It was like so many vendors, and there's actually there's like two other rooms besides this one for people to be hanging out in and buy everything. So it's been a while since we've seen you. What have you been up to?
Oh, just when you get 200 sightings in a year for Michigan for UFO sightings, it can keep you busy. So that's what we get on average every year here in Michigan.
200, wow.
And then apart from investigating the sightings, and to be honest, we have a team of investigators that do that. Yep. I just sort of manage a little bit at the top, but otherwise I go out and do talks for libraries. I'm primarily, when I have the time to do this, I'm an advocate for people who've had the contact experience.
Yes.
As you know from the Voices of Contact show and other things. I think that history fades quickly, and the great work of the people that were doing this work in the 80s and 90s, getting the word out about this phenomena, if you don't keep it right in front of people, it disappears.
Yeah, and I mean, like you said, like 200 cases a year, and that's just in Michigan alone. Mm-hmm. So I could just imagine like what MUFON has to deal with on a grand scale, like worldwide. MUFON is just not a Michigan thing; it is a worldwide project or place for people to tell their stories to, or who've had experiences.
Right. So MUFON's been around since 1969. I haven't been around since 1969, but the organization's got over 5,000 paying members in over 40 countries, and prior to 2000, we didn't have a database, a computer database. Right. From 2000 to 2010, we had a database that was functioning. But in 2010, we got our formula going and a great database for people to report stuff. Right. So I always compare the number of sightings that come in, apples to apples, with the year 2010 being sort of ground zero.
Right.
And since 2010, worldwide, MUFON has got over 100,000 sightings.
Wow.
Just since 2010, worldwide, only MUFON, and every one of those 100,000 plus sightings means that somebody contacted us, and there was a name behind every one of these sightings.
So we've had plenty of conversations like this. So for every one that you report you do get in, how many would you think don't report it?
A figure I heard, and I believe this came from Jacques Vallée, who is a well-renowned UFO investigator. He's still working. Yeah. He was a close colleague of J. Allen Hynek. Yeah. He thought that about 1 in 10 people report.
And that's pretty astounding if you really take those numbers. You're saying 100,000 reported cases. So we're now talking close to almost 1 million experiencers are in the world that have not come forward to talk about their stories. Now, what would be the number one reason, would you think, why somebody would not want to acknowledge or report a sighting?
Well, whenever I do a talk, I always ask people, show of hands, how many people have heard of MUFON? Right. And it's always just a tiny handful of people.
Right.
People don't know groups like this that are reputable, that train their investigators exist. And some people see something and they're like, I could tell someone, but then they're going to wonder if I'm weird or crazy or whatever. And maybe they'll just tell a friend or a family member, which is understandable.
Right.
It takes a lot to say, hey, you know what? I'm going to seek a group that I don't know anybody and tell them my story and then see what happens.
Right.
But, we can, the funny inverse of it is we can identify about 90% of what comes into us in a given year.
Right.
And so then it's sort of the figure flips back and forth at 10%.
Right.
10% are authentic, but only 10% of people report whatever they see, period.
And this is why events like the Mid-Michigan Paracon, the UFO Contact Convention, or any really paranormal convention that is out there,
if you are somebody who believes you've had an experience, it's because these conventions always have somebody who represents everything in the paranormal world. You got your UFOs, you got your cryptids, you got your ghost people. So it's a safe, great place to come on down, talk about any experiences, approach yourself. You've got Miss Mary Bassett here, who works with MUFON as well. So I mean, it's a good, safe place, and you're not going to be judged. It's a really relaxed place. So anybody who's out there and you think you've had an experience, like, reach out to Bill, because I'll tell you, it's probably better than holding it in. As we've experienced at the UFO Contact Convention, people have been there and they've been holding on to their stories for many, many decades, some of them. I believe there was a gentleman this past year who was in his 70s and just finally told his story. And I mean, people said, like, they saw, like, the weight lifted off his shoulders after he was able to talk about it. And that's the good feel, the feel good moment of it all, because that's got to be a lot to hold it in. Because you can't tell your next door neighbor they're going to be like, no, I think you need to go see a psychiatrist because aliens don't exist. Well, but to the non-believers out there, it's like that's not their call. But to talk to somebody is a lot better. Mm-hmm. So today, when somebody's watching this video back a little bit later on today, right now at this moment, and want to reach out to you, what would be the best way that they could do that?
So MUFON, MUFON, again, that's Mutual UFO Network. So MUFON.com. If you have seen a UFO and want to report it, go to the website. If you want to investigate UFOs yourself, we train people how to do that, and go to MUFON.com to find out how.
And it doesn't matter. It just doesn't have to be here in Michigan. It's a worldwide thing. So go to your local. If this is something that interests you, be a part of it. Help people out, and be also Friday nights 8 p.m. on the Mystical Awakening podcast channel. The Voices of Contact. You got many great experiencers, panelists who are on the show, helping people get it to realize what they've experienced and have some kind of understanding, because I think that's a lot of it too, is people have these experiences but they don't understand why they're having experiences, because there's a lot of people out there that probably wish they did have an experience but other people are not. But
be careful what you wish for.
And me and Michael John have been a very close with that. Is you think you want an experience, but then when it happens you're like, wow, did I really want that? But you know what? We're glad that we have contacts like you and Mary Bassett and the RJs and the Debs and everybody. But so, Bill, I want to thank you so much for taking your time talking to us. And Bill will be speaking at 4:00 today.
Oh, I already spoke. I spoke at 11.
Oh, well, hey, but even if you're in the area, come on down, meet Bill, talk to Bill, tell me your experience, and maybe you get some answers out of this, and he can help you out. He's a very knowledgeable guy. So in the meantime, in between time, folks, we're going to be back with another amazing person. Happy huntings.